Hi guys, it's Mook again. Earlier I completed making the knife blank. It is still, the metal is still annealed, it's still soft, and it's still relatively easily worked. Today we're going to put the bevel on the cutting edge. This will be a single bevel, which means there will be one bevel on this side and one bevel on the other, meeting at the cutting edge. There will be no secondary bevel. This is the so-called Scandinavian grind. I just call it a single bevel grind. On some of my larger blades, I have in the past used an angle grinder to grind out the biggest portion of the metal to get it out of the way. But on a small project like this, that would be impractical. This is too large compared to the size of the blade, and the blade is narrow enough that there is really not a whole lot of material to remove, so we can more effectively just use the belt sander. The grind I'm going to be putting on this blade is a single bevel. Now, you may hear of a certain number of degrees per side. I don't measure that. I pretty much do it by eye. But I keep the same angle of the knife blade relative to the back platen from the base of the blade all the way to the tip of the blade. You can see that I'm maintaining a fairly regular angle all the way out to the tip. I'm not rocking it like this as we go back and forth. I try to lock my wrist in and use gentle pressure on the tip. I've done part of the work on the bevel on this side of the blade. I've done no work on this side yet. Before I get halfway through on this side, I need to flip over and start this side so that ultimately, I don't think this is going to show up real well, so that ultimately the cutting edge meets halfway, in the middle of the thickness of the blade. Now, after about 5 minutes of work, I have established a consistent bevel from the base of the blade to the tip on both sides. It's the same angle, and I can tell that because the bevel is the same width here and here, and the cutting edge meets in the middle of the thickness of the blade. At this point I could go ahead and heat treat the blade, but heat treating it will make it hard. Hardness makes it more difficult to remove any material, and there is some final refinement of the bevel and of the blade that I'd like to do before heat treating. It actually shows up fairly well. There's a dimple right here where the drill bit pushed a little bit of metal out, and there's still some burrs, some fine burrs here and there, and there is a wire edge right here that you can see that needs to be removed before heat treating makes it more difficult to remove these flaws from the blank. Okay, this is a 1000 grit Japanese water stone that I have flattened. Put a little water on it, and basically I'm just going to rub the face of the blade like so. As you can tell, that little dimple is catching, so I'll have to be careful. Okay, I've worn down the dimples and any burrs around the edge, and right now I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes not necessarily flattening the face, but smoothing the face of the blade and the handle. Now the blade is more or less flat. The burrs and the dimples have been removed, but there does remain the issue of getting rid of this wire edge. You can see a little bit of a gleam right along the edge of the blade.
I'm Mook's son, and I'm going to be taking the burr off of the bevel and honing it down a little bit before we do the fire hardening and putting the real edge on the blade. So, wet the stone a little bit.
What we have accomplished is the face is flat, the burrs are gone, and the wire edge along the edge of the blade is now gone. I've gone down to 1,000 grit on the bevel as far as the sharpening, and that's all the more we need to do until this blade is heat treated, and that's for the next video. Thanks for watching.